I'm going to provide a broad overview with respect to product liability law, who's responsible, and the general overview related to it. Product liability law really covers three broad areas and three theories in law about product liability. There's what's called a manufacturing defect, a design defect, and lastly, a failure to warn. I'll explain all three. First, a manufacturing defect is when a product is manufactured exactly as designed, but one of the products comes off the assembly line different than every other product. That product, because the way it came out differently, is defective, but it's only one of many. A design defect is that the product was designed in a particular way that made it inherently dangerous and defective. When the product was manufactured, it was manufactured exactly to the specifications, but those specifications rendered it unreasonably dangerous. And I'll explain all of these in a moment. And the third is some products are manufactured that have inherent dangers. And those inherent dangers cannot be designed away. When that is the case, the consumer or the user of that product, there must be adequate warnings for them so that they understand and know that that product has some inherent dangers. So first, a manufacturing defect. Let's say there is EpiPens, and this actually happened. EpiPens are designed and manufactured and delivered across the world. During the process of manufacturing EpiPens, they went and were manufactured specifically as designed, but during the manufacturing process, something went wrong where a particular component part in a particular machine was manufactured defective. And every EpiPen that came off the line that was manufactured in this particular series of lots were deemed defective. And then ultimately the manufacturer discovered it, fixed the manufacturing processes, and then the subsequent EpiPens were not defective. Well, if a consumer picked up one of those defective EpiPens, that is a manufacturing defect. The EpiPen was manufactured exactly as designed, but a series of them, because of the manufacturing process, rendered it defective. And basically, in that scenario, the pen, when it was attempted to be used, the needle failed to launch. The manufacturer did a recall, said bring back all of these EpiPens within certain lots because they may be defective, and that was all that happened in that scenario. Another example is airbags. There is a manufacturer who designed airbags, but they would explode without the necessary sensors being triggered. And it was deemed that that was a manufacturing defect. During the manufacturing process, some of the sensors were improperly calibrated. So they did a recall for all such cars with those airbags. That's a manufacturing defect. Different and distinct from a manufacturing defect is a design defect. The design defect is where every single product that was manufactured is defective because of the way it was designed. The perfect example is the Ford Pinto. That's what everybody understands. That car was designed in such a way that the gas tank was placed in an ultra-hazardous location so that if there was a particular crash from the rear, it was likely the car may catch fire. So as a result, the entire design was deemed defective. It was in the design process where the errors were made. Lastly is the failure to warn. Failure to warn oftentimes is there are products that have inherent dangerous attributes to it, but the consumer still has to use that product. The one that I'm sure will ring a bell are pharmaceuticals. Any drug, any pharmaceutical, any prescription may be very good for the underlying condition that you're prescribed that medication to treat, but it also has side effects that have additional risks. Well, the pharmaceutical manufacturer has an obligation to warn you that if you take this particular medication, it may cause these additional or different symptoms, and be on the lookout for it. The example that you hear all the time is a drug that may be there to control epilepsy causes depression. Well, if the consumer who has epilepsy is taking an anti-seizure, anti-epileptic medication and isn't told that the drug causes depression or may cause depression, then the consumer is taking the anti-seizure medication and feeling depressed, but doesn't know to connect it to the medication and doesn't know to then speak to their physician about it and say, maybe I should have a different anti-seizure medication. So the duty is on the manufacturer of whatever the product may be to advise the consumer and warn them of dangers that may be inherent in use of the product. So that's the broad overview and the three types of broad cases with respect to product liability. It's a manufacturing defect, a one-off. And when I say a one-off, it's not necessarily just one product, but a few of them that have come off the line because something defective in the manufacturing process. It is a design defect where the entire product, every single one of them is designed defectively. And lastly, it is a warnings where the manufacturer failed to warn. I hope that was insightful.